Good morning. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Carlos Phillips, President and CEO of the Greenville Chamber. We host these Community Matters discussions the second and fourth Tuesday of each month to connect you with local, state, and national leaders. You can find past recordings as well as the upcoming Community Matters schedule at greenvillechamber.org. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. I want to ask each of you to mute your microphones and turn your cameras off. And then also, please feel free submitting your questions via the chat feature. I'm convinced and guarantee you today's session will be highly interactive. So you want to get your questions in on that chat feature. Before we get started this morning, I want to take a moment to thank DC Blocks for the generous sponsorship of this program. I want to invite Ted Hassel, Senior Director of Business Development, to say a few words and to introduce our speaker. But before he does that, I want to congratulate Ted and DC Blocks on their very successful groundbreaking a couple of weeks ago for their new facility out on Global Drive. It is an exciting development, Ted, and Greenville's lucky to have you guys as a new citizen in our community. So welcome to Community Matters, and even bigger than that, welcome back to Greenville.
Exactly. Hey, Carlos, thank you so much. It's awesome to be back in Greenville, and I can't wait to introduce today's speaker. But a little before that, I was asked to say a little bit about DC Blocks, and happy to do that. We're based out of Atlanta, and this Greenville is our 5th data center throughout the Southeast. So we're really excited to have not only Atlanta, but Birmingham, Chattanooga, Huntsville, and now Greenville being with the groundbreaking and everything. Very, very exciting. It was good to see you out there. We had a lot of dignitaries at our April 1st groundbreaking. It was pretty cool. Government Master, Senator Graham, certainly Knox White, Ambassador Wilkins was there, Max Metcalf, Willis Meadow, Mark Ferris, Sam Patrick, Sam Panduras, and Carlos was coming in there hot on 2 wheels. He got there, but it was a great event, and we're excited. It's a $200 million investment into Greenville in the upstate. With a Tier 3 SOC 2 compliant data center. So there's nothing else like it in the state, and so it's very, very exciting for us to contribute to Greenville in that way. We also secured another $187 million recently through Bain Capital and Post Road Group. And this will enable us to go to these secondary markets like Greenville throughout the Southeast and build out rings of data centers in secondary markets, which I think Toby may hit on, but it's really important for these data centers to get to the edge, and we're part of that solution. So if we're looking for co-location services or business continuity, disaster recovery, network connectivity, or cloud storage, certainly in the large financial institutions, healthcare, enterprise, and university segments, DC Blocks is a great choice. So I'm a Greenville guy. Carlos welcomed me back from Denver, Colorado after 10 years, but I'm a Greenville guy. I went to Christ Church Episcopal School, and my kids went to Christ Church Episcopal School and graduated from Greenville High. So it is fantastic, and I'm looking forward to being a service to the Greenville community in any way we can through DC Blocks. But without further ado, it's really time to focus on our featured speaker. And again, DC Blocks is proud to sponsor today's conversation with Toby Stansell, CEO of Cargo LLC. And for more than 4 decades, Toby Stansell has served in executive roles for high impact, fast growth organizations that understand the need to leverage innovation and technology for improved operational and financial performance. Cargo LLC is a business strategy and marketing consultancy that helps big brands more effectively market and sell to small to medium-sized businesses. Cargo serves a broad range of industries, but specializes in technology, automotive and commercial vehicles, financial services, and logistics organizations. Toby's primary objectives when leading an organization are to impart a sustainable, positive and productive culture identify and capitalize upon transformative opportunities, and optimize efficiencies and financial performance. His prescriptive approach has equipped organizations of all shapes and sizes to make better decisions faster, leverage their strengths for competitive edge, and maximize results. So now I'll turn it back to Carlos and Toby to get this conversation started, and glad to be part of today's Community Matters session.
Well, thank you, Ted. And again, we're glad that you have returned home, and glad that DC Blocks has decided to make Greenville one of its homes as well. So thank you again. Toby Stansell, really a man in our community that needs little, if any, introduction. We tease you a lot, Toby, about your Tobyisms, and we're going to start off with one right off the bat. You are known to say that in God we trust. Everyone else brings data. And I know you've got some hot off the press, hard data that provides real insight into the most pressing issues and matters that businesses, especially those small to medium-sized businesses, need to consider and address if you're going to take advantage of opportunities and avoid the pitfalls that COVID has exposed us to these last 14 months. Where did you get your data, and why is the data relevant to how businesses plan and execute for the foreseeable future?
All right, Carlos, listen, thanks. And Ted, thanks for the introduction. Thanks for this platform. And this is not just a monologue about what I've done in business. This really is community matters. You know, I hate platitudes and generalities. Anybody that knows me knows that. I always say when I listen to people use the word basically and not, that means basically they don't know what they're talking about. So if I use the word basically, y'all, somebody's chat and tell me to stop doing that. But the key is, and I've got a lot of notes in front of me, and I usually don't read anything, but I want to make sure I don't miss some things, and I give some very prescriptive guidance as to the things that you need to focus on that are going to be most critical to doing business in the future in a world that's greatly changed. And you know, everybody's got opinions. You know what they say about opinions? I won't say that on air, but you know, so Carlos said it right. In God we trust, all others bring data. And you know, those of y'all that I've been away from Greenville a long time. I've been in Greenville a long time. I came back this last time at the end of 2004, so I've been here 17 years. And I've had the privilege of serving as president or CEO of some really diverse organizations. Ubi, which was an apparel company, Acumen IT, which was a technology managed services company, started the digital arm of Cherry Beckett, which is 25th largest CPA firm in the country, and now I'm CEO of a marketing company. Which when they offered me this job, I said, "Look, guys, y'all must be crazy. Do you know how old I am? And by the way, I don't even like marketing. I don't even think it even works." And but they wouldn't let up. So here's the prologue to this today. Is that I've worked across multiple types of industry verticals and business segments. And so it wouldn't do me a bit of good to give y'all some things that, wow, it only worked in this industry. It works for manufacturing. It works for distribution. It works for logistics. It works for automotive. That's not the things that we have to share today need to meet this test, this three criteria test. Are they timeless, or the universal, or the objective? Timeless means they were effective yesterday, they'll be effective today, and they'll be effective tomorrow. So that's really important. Number two, are they universal? In other words, they're not situational. You got to be in a particular situation you know, to apply them. Universal means that you can use them, you know, inside the business, with the customers, with your suppliers, across your trading partner base, whoever, that these universal principles and universal practices apply. And the last thing is that the objective. They don't disfavor or favor somebody because of race, color, or creed, the fact that I'm a gender, male or female, the fact that I happen to be wearing a sport coat today and you're wearing a t-shirt. They just let us all operate on level ground. So the things that I want to share today are really things that you can think about and then put into practice. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, you may need some external assistance or help. And this isn't a thinly veiled advertisement or smokescreen for us. We're a marketing agency. We're really a business strategy agency now. Since I've come here, we've expanded that, obviously. But really, you simply can't possess inside the four walls of a business, especially a small business today, all the expertise, experience, skills, competencies, capabilities that you need to take advantage of the tools at your disposal to be highly competitive in the markets that you serve. The areas of business and life in which we can truly be experts get narrower every day. There's so much science, so much technology, so much engineering, so much math, so much marketing, so much information that we've got to partner with people to be able to assemble, not create from whole cloth, but assemble a complete solution. So this is about, wow, what can we do internally? How do we focus our leadership and our management? And what are our thought processes so that we really are projecting toward the future and not just addressing the opportunities and challenges of today? And where are we going to need external help to be able to capitalize, to address our biggest challenges and capitalize on our most lucrative opportunities? So that being said, let me tell you, this is an opinion that data is not going to be released until tomorrow. We're a featured speaker at the National B2B Marketing Conference tomorrow. And the world tomorrow will get visibility of the data that I'm giving you a preview of today. So you're getting a one-day jump start on all this. And let me just tell you how comprehensive the data is. Most surveys people don't respond to, but we partnered with a research firm called Phase 5. You can look them up. We actually had, I don't know how many people we polled, 5,000 or 10,000, all businesses of less than 250 employees, so small to medium-sized organizations. We had it's funny that we started this in 2020, and this is crazy. This is so ironic. We had exactly 2,020 respondents. And they were and we operate across the world, but primarily North America. We had 1,012 respondents from the US and 1,008 respondents from Canada. I don't think you could have had a more equal split. The nature of the businesses that responded, let me just give you the nature of them. Full-time, 88 full-time employees they employed, were 88% of their employees were full-time, 12% were part-time. I won't go through all the age categories, but the median age of employee in the businesses was between 35 and 44 years of age. The role of the respondent was either the owners, 2/3 of the respondents were owners, which I was astounded that they would take the time to do this. And 34% were C or D level executives, C-level or director level executives that responded. They were very evenly split between male and female, 57% male, 42% female. I don't know why that doesn't add up to 100. I don't know what the other 1% might have been, but anyway, 57, 42. The size of the businesses, the average or the median size of the business was 30 employees. And the age of the business, which is very critical in this data, is that the age of the business, the median was between 2 and 10 years. Industry types, I'm literally, you name it, it's in there. Education, financial services, banking, government, healthcare, hospitality, independent software vendor, IT, tech, value-added reseller, life sciences, manufacturing, not-for-profit, government, personal services, professional services, real estate, utilities, wholesale, other. So there's no bias toward any one particular industry. So I think what we've gotten is a very good cross-section of private and public industry to understand what's important, what didn't work, how COVID affected these businesses, and we have to get beyond that. We're still in it, obviously, with the halt on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine this morning, and the challenges with the AstraZeneca vaccine. We've got a little less product at our disposal to vaccinate the world, but we got to move on. Somebody is going to perform, and somebody's going to win, regardless of the macroeconomic, cultural, social, pandemic conditions that exist. So why not us? Are we going to let somebody outthink us? Are we going to let somebody outwork us in Greenville? Are we going to let somebody out partner with us? Are we going to let somebody out compete? If we do, it's our own fault. So let me tell you, that's the source of the data. But let me tell you why the data is relevant. The data is relevant because, and I wrote some things down, but I just don't want to miss anything. The data is relevant because we're now operating in a completely different commercial paradigm. All of us have heard, maybe this is even spiritual or biblical, it says trials and temptations build character. Now, I got that. That may be true. Many times trials and temptations build character, but there's a greater truth than trials and temptations build character. And the greater truth is, while trials and temptations may sometimes build character, they always reveal it. Trials and temptations always reveal character. And here's my hypothesis to y'all. Everybody thinks COVID created a lot of the overall supply base and supply chain challenges in the world. I'm telling you, it didn't do that. What it did, it revealed the frailties and fractures in our business process models, and the fact that we had sole and single source are highly dependent upon single source of supply, it simply exposed the frailties and fractures in our global supply chain model. And the fact that we had gone from primarily 50 years ago from a kind of, we operated within the boundaries of our country, or at least North America, and we had now gone to kind of a global global economy, man, it really exposed weaknesses that if we do not address, and they're still in place today. I mean, today, I knew a man, he's dead now, and he told me one time, he said, Toby, he said, one day you're going to have money and we're going to have nothing to buy. And I thought, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. And this is the first time I've heard that I believe that's true. But I don't know how many of you know who Uncle Kracker is, but Uncle Cracker's a singer. He's got a song, he's from Detroit, I think, but he's got a song called Ain't No Time to Be Sober. All right, and there's a line in that song that says, so please, why won't someone tell me why all the toilet paper's gone? And that's just a microcosmic example of just what's going on in the world today. So yes, we've had Zoom and GoToMeetings and Teams, and we've met with our people, but we've not been able to interface in person with each other. Just the fact that we're on this Zoom call today is a problem. So the relational component of our business model has been turned upside down, in my opinion, will never be the same. Why? Because many businesses have learned that they can better manage cost and expense without compromising performance by having some classes of their employees work remotely from now on. So we're now challenged to maintain culture and esprit de corps within our workforce. When a larger percentage of our workforce and customer base that we're going to see less frequently in person, in some cases we may not see them again at all. So a byproduct of the work from home, work from anywhere paradigm is that office and building occupancy rates are way down and may be down for a long time or forever. So that's a reality that we now have to absorb, and we got to figure out how to take advantage of, not just say, woe is me. So there's plenty more. I could go on about this, but you've heard a lot of this already, and I'm not going to bore you. What really matters to us as business leaders is how do we better predict, prepare for, and operate effectively and profitably in a rapidly changing commercial and social environment that is now completely mashed together. The social world, the business world, and now the health world is completely mashed together. And how do we operate effectively in this environment? And how do we create a competitive edge for our companies in the market sectors that we serve? So the key thing of this talk is how do we separate the trivial from the important or the critical and focus on a few essential behaviors and approaches that, if adopted, will materially improve our organization's ability to attract and keep the best employees, partners, and clients, improve customer satisfaction and retention, increase customer lifetime value and reduce customer churn, and allow us to be a first mover in emerging market opportunities that are highly lucrative. So is this the key or the answer to all your businesses being successful and my business being successful? No, but it is a component. Hopefully at the end of this, you'll come to the conclusion that it is.
All right, Toby, thank you. Here at the office, we had an over-under on the Tobyisms today. I wasn't expecting a Uncle Kracker reference. And so my favorite Uncle Kracker song is "You Make Me Smile." I'm sure the toilet paper reference didn't come from that one. Quick question for you: what have been the primary and most oppressive effects of COVID on business performance? All businesses have been affected in different ways, and in some ways, some good, some not, many not so good. What have you seen as the biggest impacts of COVID on businesses?
All right, and again, y'all know a lot of this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But let me just tell you, the businesses that have been impacted the worst are B2C, business to consumer, retail establishments have been impacted the greatest because they were restricted by the government and opening their doors. Even after they were open, their doors restricted by occupancy. So any business that relied on walk-in traffic clearly has been highly impacted by what's going on. But let me tell you something. For all the businesses that were negatively impacted, think of the businesses that were positively impacted. Everybody quit going to buy product and started wanting product brought to them. All right. I want it brought to my front door. I want it dropped off on my steps. So logistics and transportation companies have thrived. I don't know how many people's Amazon's hired, but it's over 100,000. It's like some crazy number. Anybody has anything to do with PPE, personal protection equipment, or cleaning supplies or cleaning services, I mean, I was in the hospital. Susan was sick Saturday night. She's in the emergency room. And I guess, I don't know, they're wearing hazmat suits in the room next to me. I didn't go over there. But, even after they finished, Gregory Pest Control was in that room, defumigating and cleaning up that room. So COVID not only, created some negative effects on certain businesses, but it created some great opportunities for others. So that. But here's the key thing that, just some factors that have affected a broad range of business. I just said one, B2C walk-in establishments, man, both shut down and then after they've been open, limited operating hours and limited occupancy rates. Reliable raw material and component availability, supply chain reliability. If we ever thought that, man, we were going to be able to walk in our grocery stores and our discount retailers and just buy anything we wanted, did we get a shot when this happened? I'm going to tell you a little story. I love fishing. I got so many fishing rods. It's embarrassing, really. But I had some reels that were by Shimano that were really old, and they had a different size crank on them, 7 millimeters versus 8, and I needed an adapter to fit it. And the only place I could find it was from a company in Japan, and I didn't know whether I just found them on the internet. Didn't know whether there's a fly-by-night outfit called Japan Tackle, and they offered these little adapters, and they were $5 a piece, and I bought 2 of them. Well, I got a confirmation that my order shipped on March 30th. They charged my credit card $10. April came and went. Got in the middle of May. I sent these guys a note. I said, I don't know you guys. I've never done business with you before, but did you really send this thing or not? And they sent me a really nice note back. Said, listen, this is the effect of the pandemic. You simply cannot get goods from Asia to the United States. We sent this on March 30th, but we're going to refund your credit card to $10. And if you'll just let us know when that shows up, then we'll charge your credit card $10. It showed up on July 10th, 100 days after it was shipped. So 100 days. So listen, it doesn't matter whether it's something as little as a fishing rod handle adapter or the primary raw materials and components you need to build the products or service your customers. Unpredictable supply chain reliability. So other one, rapidly rising material costs. How many of you, we know what the housing markets do. There's prices have gone through the roof, but if you tried to put an addition on your house or build a new house or start new construction, materials costs go up every single day. So rising material costs and to a lesser degree, labor costs. And I don't know what inflation is going to look like overall as this new administration takes shape and takes hold. But listen, I can tell you material costs, especially in the construction sector, are through the roof. Reduction in customer interaction on a real-time basis. Listen, the fact we're meeting this way today just says, wow, we can't see each other. We can't shake each other's hand. We can't put our arm around each other's shoulder. We don't have that time, that personal time just to talk about what's going on personally and professionally and culturally and civically, and just, it's got to be scheduled, so we've reduced our real-time interaction. So that makes us, and what you don't think about, if you project that on out, that basically we're operating on old news, not participating with our customers in the planning process as frequently and proactive as we were prior to COVID. So business changes are occurring with our customers and our prospective customers, of which we're not aware many times until well after the fact. And sometimes we miss a lot of opportunities because of that. And then the last one is that if you were a business that your ability to service your customer has been impacted by COVID, you couldn't get them product, you couldn't go on sites, you couldn't do what you normally did for them. Rebuilding customer business volumes and customer loyalty, if your product or service reliability is taking a hit, then that's something that's going to be a business challenge. So those things, that's just a few, but those are some of the things that have impacted a broader range of businesses. Thanks
for sharing those, Toby. What can businesses do to better position themselves for success, getting through this pandemic and post-pandemic?
Well, I think you gotta think about, let me just give you an idea. Let's start with COVID and then let's go beyond COVID. Let me just give you some numbers. I'm gonna call it the COVID in effect. There was a COVID effect, but there's a COVID in effect. 49% of the businesses that we surveyed are more optimistic about the future than they were before COVID. 28% are more pessimistic, 23% are neutral. Then we ask them, well, how are you doing since, if you're not shut down? And a lot of countries are still shut down. Canada is still very much on lockdown, and we have a 11-person office in Toronto. 39% are doing better, post-COVID shutdown. 15% were not impacted by COVID at all. 31% the impact is moderately negative. But listen, this is the big one. 16% of small business, the COVID impact was either negative or catastrophic. Let's say that we define catastrophic as I had to shut my doors. You know what that says? 1 out of every 6 businesses went under. 16% is 1 out of every 6. Now, here's the way that the people in this meeting need to think about that. That actually creates an opportunity. Now there's some white space now in the market that didn't exist a year ago. All right, so 16%. So large, and then we segregated the data, large businesses versus smaller businesses. I think the line was 50 employees or less and 50 employees or more. The larger businesses actually are less, this is pretty funny, are less optimistic than the smaller businesses. So I don't know whether, we call businesses that started in this time the COVID class, so the larger businesses took a harder hit, and older businesses are more optimistic than smaller businesses. So it kind of, turns the other way, and because it appears they're better capitalized, they're better staffed, they've got employees that have longer experience and broader expertise, and they're better able to weather the storm. But I want to address your question specifically, is that what are the things that you need to be thinking about that are going to allow you in the post-COVID world to operate more effectively? Here's kind of the 6 or 7 things that are options to be considered. Now, this is not telling you to go do this. The first one, the highest one on our chart, was product digitization, digitizing everything we can. How do we create and leverage digital apps, tools, and communication collaboration platforms to improve the speed and accuracy of doing business? And this is big, guys, without compromising or diminishing the relational aspect of our business model. Everybody thinks, wow, if I'm going to add more technology, that's going to cost me more money. I'm going to lose that human element. This is not an either or proposition. It's a both and proposition. I always say my chances of doing business with you go up if I can sit in front of you and let's just have a conversation. However, when it comes to day-to-day transactions, people use this device right here. This is where they get most of their day-to-day. When they get an impulse to go find something out, what's the weather going to be? What's the stock market? Guess what? It's in the palm of their hand. It helped me coin an acronym. Here's another one, Carlos, so you'll get me on it. TMF, think mobile first. TMF, think mobile first. And so how do you make it easy, not to lose the relational part of your business, but how do you make it easy for your trading partners, your suppliers on the back side and your customers on the front side to communicate with you, tell you what you need, connect instantly? That's where the digitization of the business comes in. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But that's one thing. What parts of our business can we digitize? Not to replace or eschew the relational part, but to just make it easier to connect, communicate, and collaborate with our customers and let them do business with us in an easier fashion. Number 2, to increase e-commerce or online selling. When we couldn't go to the stores, it made a permanent change in our buying habits. A lot of us already bought from Amazon or eBay or Jet or whoever, but listen, that's now extended into the industrial and commercial space, that more and more people are going to promote, provide robust explanations, descriptions, even virtual or augmented reality, so you can experience the product before you buy it. I've got a customer now. They've got they sell in the digital space, and listen, they've got a virtual reality room where people can go out and try out the computers literally virtually before they buy it, because they know they're not going to go to a store. They know they're not going to be able to get a salesperson in the door. So increased and improved e-commerce and online selling. That's option number 2. Number 3. Increasing your export business or going global. How do I expand the geo boundaries in which I operate, or how do I send more of my product into other parts of the world? How do I export more of my product? So that's the 3rd option to be considered. Number 4, to reinvent the business or shift the business model. Challenges such as COVID create great opportunities. You can either look for the negative, and you can look for every excuse. And one of my Tobyisms, it's either it's either results or excuses. I don't want to hear any reasons. There's always reasons for underperformance or failure. We all have them. So we can sit around and lament what we're doing. But I tell everybody, if you're not willing to admit you're getting beat, you're not willing to get better. So what are those opportunities that have been created that I can take the assets, my people, my facility, my knowledge, my experience, my trading partners, all the relationships I've got outside the building, and how can I address and attack some new markets that I'm not attacking today by redirecting my research, my technology, my products to new opportunities that I just hadn't thought about. Now listen, this takes some brainstorming sessions inside your business, and all answers are good answers this day. How do we just don't filter anything and we figure out some new opportunities? Option number 5, this is a big one, mobilize the business. Again, people are not going to the product's coming to the people. How do I put a fleet of trucks on the road? How do I go to where my customers are? I heard a firm yesterday that they generally did national seminars, and they said, look, people aren't spending money on travel. They're afraid to fly. They don't want to leave their locale. So now we took what was one national customer seminar. Now we do it in 11 cities in the United States. We go to them. They don't come to us. So mobilize the business. The product goes to the customer, not the other way around. Get on the road. Make it convenient for the customer to know who you are, be aware of who you are, and do business with you. A 6th one is can't touch this. Migrate to a touchless business. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something. This goes to show operational maturity. This seems a little less important now that the CDC has stated that you can't catch COVID from surfaces. But if we don't think ahead, that shows that we hadn't learned anything from this. COVID is not the last virus or pandemic that we're going to encounter in our lifetime. It's not. And there are going to be viruses and other things that, guess what, you can catch from surfaces. So the bottom line is this: if you don't think ahead, not just about today, then we're going to get beat. I have this business process maturity model called react, respond, anticipate. Sometimes we get caught flat-footed and react. And yeah, we may fix the immediate problem, but because we've not had a holistic view of the collateral damage or the connections, we can hurt some other things when we just react to a situation. Well, then we say, well, we're going to mature. We're going to be a little better. We're going to We're going to respond. We're going to have responsive customer service. And that sounds really good until you come to the reality that if I'm responsive, it means the customer discovered the issue or challenge or problem before I did. I'm responding to what somebody else discovered. The real top of the maturity curve is anticipate. Somebody that now uses data, a combination of both internal data, my historical data, what my customers do, how my customers act, what they buy, what volumes they buy in, what price point they buy, with it now readily available external data that's plotting climatological, political, social, commercial, industrial, all kinds of trends that give at least some sort of more predictable projection as to what the future is going to be like. So today, data analytics can help us see better in the future by combining our own historical data with external data that is capturing, analyzing all sorts of commercial, social, climatological, political, et cetera data, and offers future trend lines as to how these factors are going to impact our economy as a whole and specific business segments, industry vertical, supply chains, and distribution networks. And so the biggest thing is think ahead, all right? Not just today. This is going to keep happening. Change is going to keep coming at us at a rapid pace. Where are those emerging opportunities? And the first acid test you need to ask yourself is use data to determine, is this really a market or is it a mirage? Don't go chasing mirages, you'll go broke. Is it a market or is it a mirage? So those are the 6 or 7 things that you need to consider to take your business and how do you kind of move it into the future.
Toby,
Yeah.
you just created 7 new programs for the chamber. I appreciate you doing that. 7 new topics for the chamber. Those are certainly that's some helpful guidance that folks can use. I sense that our attendees are much like me in that I'm over here writing a whole bunch of notes, but they're not submitting. We don't have any questions in the chat. And it's probably because they're busy listening to you and taking notes. I want to encourage you, if you got questions, please include those in the chat so that Toby can answer them.
Right.
And we can continue the dialogue. Toby, earlier in this meeting, you mentioned that you were going to say a lot of things, but that no business could do it to do everything that you talked about on their own.
Right.
That they may need help with that, external resources, et cetera. Can you go a little deeper? Can you go a little deeper into that?
Yeah, and I'm not gonna go deeper. I'm gonna be real specific. And I'm gonna say this to my audience. I can't see you. I hate that. I wish I could. I don't. I certainly prefer a kind of a face-to-face interaction. Monologues are for Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon, and not for Toby Stansell. You know, it ought to be a dialogue, and it's really not today. But I subscribe to the abundant world philosophy. The abundant world philosophy is, look, guys, there's plenty of business to go around for all of us. I never have focused on where we compete. Even if you're in in this meeting, you're the competition, and you want help, you call me out to the limits of my availability and my time, I'll help you. I want to see Greenville do well. Carlos and I go shoulder to shoulder in a lot of economic development initiatives, and I won't give away any trade secrets yet, but I'm just telling you, we're going to make sure we do everything we can to make Greenville the most competitive market in the world in the build economy. From design, architecture, engineering, manufacturing, distribution, logistics, we want to be the best. And so, all of my intentions and directives today are about how do we build a stronger commercial industrial base, not-for-profit base as well in this community, so that we extend economic prosperity and quality of life to a broader expanse of the population. If I don't do that, I'm being completely selfish and self-serving. And yeah, cargo is something I got to use to make a living, and I want us to be successful, but really it is about, for me, it's about the community. So here's the thing. We all, 50 years ago, is all of our assets sat inside the four walls of our buildings. I've already said you can't do that anymore. It's just not enough mental bandwidth to get all that done. So where are you going to need help? If you take those 6 or 7 options I just gave you as areas in business you need to come under scrutiny and need to improve, where might you need outside help to be able to design, develop, deploy, and operate effective models that accomplish one of those 6 or 7 new strategies. All right, this is hard data. This came 26% of the respondents to the survey we did said they're going to need significant IT help to digitize their products, develop digital solutions, and implement data analytics and data visualization. So everybody would like to do that in-house, but if you really want to begin to depend on data, and I'm not talking about data-driven. I heard somebody, it might even been Cheryl Garrison at the Chamber, but somebody one time talked about data-informed intuition. I don't want to throw my intuition and my experience out the window. I'm still going to adjust the data I hear about what I know about my particular relationships, whether it's with Carlos or with Greenville or whatever, that there's some nuances, some social, cultural, geographical, historical nuances that I need to take that data and I need to move it 4 degrees. But to put together the kind of data analytics models, and digitize any products or services you have, you're probably going to need 26%, so they're going to need that external help. 24% of our respondents said they're going to need significant. They said significant. We have significant, moderate, a little. And I'm just dealing with the significant. Significant outside help to help plan and execute an e-commerce strategy and deploy a more effective online selling or service model, okay, whether they're selling products or services. So they know that they could sell more through an e-commerce model, but they're kind of limited to their own in-house expertise, and they need something to really turbocharge their e-commerce platform and really make them stand out against the competition and create what I call market notoriety. You'll need external help to do that. 23% of the respondents need significant help to establish exporting or expanding into other geos, whether that's you can have all sorts of agents and people that help you do that, but to try to do that without a lot of expertise. I found out when I lived in Europe, it's a lot different visiting a country or visiting a different culture, a different geography, and living there is that the way that I thought we did business and would work in America. It didn't translate very well to a lot of the countries that I did business with in Asia and Europe. And listen, I need a lot of help to understand that and to accelerate my pace of learning so I didn't have a bunch of missteps while I was over there. 22% are going to need significant help in reinventing or reshaping their business. If you're going to really make a big pivot, and that's only, most of the businesses weren't, but if you're going to make a big pivot, then that's where you can need some help. 19% need significant help establishing a sustainable, this is big, work from anywhere model. If you're now saying, wow, a larger percentage of my workers are going to work remotely, there's so many factors that people just think, oh, well, we'll just work remotely. I guarantee you, as much as I hate cybersecurity, I call it defensive dollars. We're spending dollars to help protect what we've already created. That's a lot different than disposable dollars where I use something to do something short term, or development dollars when I'm using dollars to build something. Defensive dollars, I'm just building a wall to protect what I've got. But with everybody now spread out, different levels of security in homes, let me tell you something. Your corporate assets and intellectual property are at risk unless you have a better model for how you're going to do that. Here's the things that you're going to need help to build cybersecurity processes and practices. How are you going to manage a remote workforce? How are you going to make sure they stay productive? How are you going to maintain your culture with a remote workforce? How are you going to make sure that you got a consistent technology landscape with a remote workforce? There's so many, and I could go on and on, but the work from anywhere, work from home model means a lot of parts of things. You have to rethink a lot of parts of your business. I hate the word consultant. My definition of a consultant is someone that's between jobs, and I've been one many times. But you're going to need some sort of specialist to help you get there. 26% need significant help if they're going to mobilize their business, how you put their business on the road. And 19% are going to need significant help if they're going to go to a more touchless business. So less touchy-feely, less touch and feel the product, and let's use virtual and augmented reality or other ways for the people to be familiarize themselves with the product or service and then access the product or service.
All right. Wow. Thank you for that, Toby. We've got a question in our chat regarding the advice to think mobile first. Do you think there's still value to print advertising, flyers, basically more traditional forms of marketing?
Well, I see Keisha Edwards Gansey assets. I do. I'm not, again, the problem is it's a cycle. Email marketing was a big thing for a long time. But I always said email now eroded from an asset to a liability. I get 250 emails a day. It doesn't self-order itself so that the high priority items float to the top of my inbox. I know what to pay attention to. I tell everybody, if you need me to do something within 48 hours and you have my phone number and you don't call me or text me, shame on you, because I'm liable not to see the email that you send me. So the same thing about print advertising and flyers. Listen, they do still apply. Again, that's very situational. You got to figure out what's going to be the most effective communications medium. And we still print a lot. We still use external printers. There are events where we've got flyers and things, and sometimes you put things in people's hands. So do they still apply? Yes. Or is it more situational? Yes. There's another question. Tim Marcy says, and I know Tim, I'm glad you're here. It says, years ago, the trend was to insource and the market moved to outsourcing most everything. Today, while your survey indicates move toward outsourcing, isn't it more of a hybrid approach? Absolutely. What are your strategies for opening doors, discuss specific potential business solutions that may not be top of mind to the prospect? I think just making the prospect face reality, Tim. I just tell everybody, look, we don't want a fixed cost model anymore because conditions like the pandemic made us understand that business cycles can be more volatile and they may be more frequent. And so you want your core competencies and capabilities. That's where your fixed costs and your permanent employees and all those. Everything else, staff for your core competencies and capabilities, partner for the rest. I think you can have that conversation with any business today, and that passes the sanity test, and they're going to get it. And in some cases, companies need to become more vertically organized, vertically integrated, because they need to control the battlefield because their supply chain has got so iffy. But in other cases, if they can find reliable partners to do things that they need to assemble a solution, but are not in their core capabilities, they're going to buy into that idea. Listen, let's go to a more hybrid variable fixed cost model where you got partners on the variable side and you got your full-time employees and building and all that on the staffing side. One more question. It says, since the business paradigm has shifted, the product coming to us, not the product, how do businesses enhance the customer experience in a more personal or proactive way? Again, I don't have much time. I'll just say that it's that combination. It's that hybrid combination of high touch, high tech. Put stuff in people's hand that's easy, that's accessible, that even may have some humor on it, that they get something every day that brightens up their day, that makes them want to connect with you, and then don't lose. Be really discipline's the word, to make sure that you're staying in contact with your customers. Don't send them emails. Call them on the telephone. Call them on, have a virtual. Look at them. I mean, I'm so used to having virtual meetings and seeing everybody like this. It just seems weird when I'm just on the phone. So connect with them in real time. I always say never surprise anybody with anything negative in writing. So if you got to give somebody bad news, you may think it's terrible, but you may actually improve that relationship by having the guts to have the tough conversations and propose some solutions, and your customers are going to appreciate it. And that's how you elevate the customer experience.
That is some sage advice, Toby. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I feel like we could have a day-long community matters with you, Toby. I feel like we kind of flown through today's session, but you've provided a lot of valuable information. If you had some closing thoughts for the folks today, what would those thoughts be for business? Well,
I just say learn to make more use of data. Don't depend on it. It's data helps you make better business decisions faster, but you still need to burn the mental calories to think through all that and how it applies to your market. And the other thing is, think forward. All right, think forward. Just think about what opportunities. There's one last thing I was going to say was 16% of small businesses falling out of the market. And this message is for enterprises, companies greater than 1,000 people, and small to medium business less than 1,000. That has created some opportunities in the marketplace. That demand is going to come back. Who's going to fill it? What does that demand look like? How do we redeploy our assets and our capabilities to do that? So just think forward. Where are there emerging opportunities that are not a mirage? They've got long-term increase in demand. They're going to stay with us. And here's the biggest thing to remember. Years ago, the best product or service in the market got the lion's share of the spoil. Not anymore. I hate to say this, not anymore. Things change so fast, so dynamically, that the first movers generally get the lion's share of the spoils. So make it good enough and get in the market. That's what I tell you.
Thank you, Toby. This has been a wonderful, wonderful session today. I want to thank you for sharing your time and your expertise with today's attendees. I want to thank today's attendees for joining us. You've been great, and there are so many other things that you could be doing with your time today, but the fact that you blocked out an hour for community matters in the chamber, we really do appreciate that. I want to thank DC Blocks and Ted Hassel for their sponsorship of today's Community Matters. Again, welcome back home to you, Ted. A recording will be shared on the Greenville Chamber's website and sent to attendees along with the survey. The survey is important in creating content for future Community Matters, so please share your feedback with us. Don't forget that this is part of an ongoing series. The next Community Matters will be Tuesday, April 27th, and we'll be getting an update from members of our Racial Equity and Economic Mobility Commission, and our guests will include Megan Barb, Judge Merle Cole, David Laminack, and myself. So please plan to attend that Community Matters on April 27th. Toby, thank you again. I think I'm going to win. I think I'm going to win the office pool, over/under pool on Tobyisms today. But I think we're still tabulating those. But I feel confident that I will win today. So thank you for that, and thanks for all the great information that you shared today as well. To everybody on today's call, let's do our part to care for our community. Just to let everybody know a bit of personal information, I received my second COVID-19 vaccine dose last Monday, and I feel like I got a big S on my chest and I'm wearing a cape, and you can feel the same. So I hope that you are getting vaccinated so that our community can get back to good health soon and our economy can as well. Everybody, have a great week.